Captain Dongwu stared at the massive object floating in space. It was bigger than any ship humanity had ever built. The metal surface was dark and covered with strange patterns that seemed to move when he looked at them. His crew had been traveling for 6 months to reach the edge of Earth's solar system when they found this thing. "What do you think it is?" asked Hye-Jin from her position at the navigation controls. She had been studying the object for 3 hours now. Her instruments could not tell her what it was made of or how old it might be. Dongwu walked closer to the main viewing screen. The object was shaped like a giant ring with smaller rings inside it. Lights blinked along its surface in patterns that looked almost like writing. "I don't know," he said. "But it's not from Earth. We never built anything like this." Taemin looked up from his engineering station. His face was pale with excitement. "Captain, this thing is giving off energy readings I've never seen before. It's like it's waiting for something, like it's been sleeping and now it's waking up." So-Young moved between her computers, checking data about the strange object. As the ship's expert on alien life, she had dreamed of this moment her whole life. "The metal is not like anything in our databases," she said. "It's older than anything we know about. Much older." Dongwu made his decision. "Take us closer, Hye-Jin. Slow and careful." The ship moved forward through the darkness of space. As they got closer, the object seemed to sense them. More lights began to blink along its surface. The patterns moved faster now, like a computer starting up after a long sleep. "Captain," Taemin said, his voice shaking. "It's scanning us. I can feel it looking at our ship, at our computers, at us." Suddenly, a beam of light shot out from the object and touched their ship. Dongwu expected alarms to sound, but nothing happened. Instead, their computers began to show new information. Maps appeared on their screens. Not maps of Earth or the solar system, but maps of places they had never seen before. "These are star charts," Hye-Jin whispered. "But they show thousands of systems. Thousands of worlds with life on them." So-Young moved to another screen. Her eyes grew wide as she read the data flowing across it. "Captain, this is impossible. These charts show civilizations all across the galaxy, hundreds of different species, and they all seem to be connected by objects like this one." The object began to change. Parts of it moved and opened like a flower. Inside, they could see corridors filled with soft light. It was clearly meant for people to enter it, but the hallways were the right size for humans. "It wants us to come aboard," Dongwu said. He had been a space captain for 15 years, but he had never seen anything like this. "Taemin, can our ship dock with it?" Taemin worked at his controls. "Yes, Captain. It's actually helping us. It's showing our computers exactly where to connect." 20 minutes later, Dongwu, Hye-Jin, and So-Young walked through the airlock into the alien structure. The air was clean and warm. The gravity felt exactly like Earth's gravity. Everything about the place seemed designed for humans. They walked down a long hallway covered with the same moving patterns they had seen outside. The patterns seemed to react to their presence, becoming brighter as they passed. At the end of the hallway, they found a large round room filled with screens and controls. "Look at this," So-Young said, pointing to symbols on the walls. "These aren't completely alien. Some of these symbols look like very old human writing." Hye-Jin touched one of the screens, and it came to life. Images flowed across it showing different worlds, different species, different civilizations. But in every image there were humans, humans working with alien beings, humans building great cities on distant worlds, humans teaching and learning, and exploring. "This doesn't make sense," she said. "These images show humans in space millions of years ago, but we just learned to travel between stars 50 years ago." Dongwu studied the images. In one, humans worked alongside tall blue aliens to build something that looked like the ring structure they were standing in. In another, humans and small gray creatures planted seeds that grew into entire forests. In a third image, humans stood, with various alien species around a table, signing what looked like agreements or treaties. Taiman's voice came through their communication devices. "Captain, you need to see this. The ship's computers are downloading massive amounts of data from this thing. Star maps, language databases, historical records. It's like someone left us a message." So Young found another control panel. When she touched it, a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed their galaxy, but not as they knew it. This galaxy was full of light, with lines connecting thousands of star systems. Ships moved along these lines like cars on highways. "It's a network," she said. "All these civilizations are connected. They can travel instantly between star systems using structures like this one." Yi-Jin checked her instruments. "Captain, I'm detecting similar energy signatures throughout our solar system. I think there are more of these things hidden near other planets." Dongwu felt a chill run down his back. "You mean we've been surrounded by this network our whole time? Why didn't we know about it?" The hologram changed, showing Earth. But this Earth was different. It was covered with structures that looked like the ring they were standing in. Cities of light covered the surface. Ships moved between Earth and other worlds constantly. Then the image changed again. The cities of light began to disappear. The AI ships stopped flying. The network connections to Earth went dark. The planet looked exactly like the Earth they knew today, with no sign of the advanced civilization that had been there before. "Something happened," So Young said quietly. "Humans were part of this galaxy-wide civilization, but then we disappeared from it." Dongwu made another decision. "Taimin, prepare a message drone. Send it back to Earth immediately. Tell them what we found here. Tell them that we're not alone in the galaxy and that somehow humans have been here before." As they prepared to explore more of the structure, Hye-Jin noticed something else on the star charts. Earth was marked with a special symbol. It was different from all the other worlds shown in the network. "Captain," she said, "look at this. Earth isn't marked like the other worlds. It has a special designation." Dongwu looked at the symbol. Below it, in letters that looked almost like Korean, were words that made his heart race. "Origin point, sacred world, return expected." The galaxy had been waiting for them to come back. 3 days after discovering the ring station, Dongwu's crew received their first response from the Galactic Network. The communication came through the station's systems in perfect Korean, though the voice sounded strange, like multiple people speaking together. "Greetings, children of the Origin world," the voice said. "We are the Villani Consortium. We have waited many cycles for your return to the Great Network." Jae-hyun arrived on the emergency supply ship from Earth just hours before the aliens made contact. As Earth's first ambassador to alien civilizations, he had studied every theory about how first contact might happen. None of his training had prepared him for aliens who already knew about humans and seemed to be expecting them. "They're treating us like we're famous," Jae-hyun said to Dongwu as they prepared for their first meeting. "This isn't how first contact is supposed to work. They should be curious about us, maybe afraid. Instead, They sound like they're welcoming us home. The meeting took place in the ring station's main chamber. The aliens appeared as holograms since their ship was still several days away. Dongwu had expected them to look completely different from humans, but the Villani looked surprisingly familiar. They were tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large eyes. They wore simple robes and moved with careful, respectful gestures. "I am Elder Coordinator Thex Mela," the lead alien said. "I speak for the Villani Consortium in this sector of space. We are honored to meet the children of the Ancient Ones." Jae-hyun stepped forward. "I am Ambassador Jae-hyun, representing Earth and all of humanity. We're pleased to meet you, but we don't understand what you mean by Ancient Ones." Thex Mala's large eyes grew even wider. "You do not remember? But of course it has been many, millions of your years. Your people chose the Great Sleep so that younger species could grow and learn. We have maintained the network as you commanded before you departed." So, Young leaned forward. "Commander, are you saying that humans were here before? That we were part of your civilization?" "Part of it?" Thex Mala made a sound that might have been laughter. "Young one, your people created it. The Ancient Ones built the first ring stations. They taught us how to travel between stars. They showed us how to live in peace with other species." Hyejin pulled up the star charts they had downloaded from the station. "These maps show Earth marked as an origin point. What does that mean?" Thex Mala gestured, and new images appeared in the hologram space. They showed humans working alongside dozens of different alien species. Humans building massive structures in space. Humans teaching alien children in schools that looked like universities. "Your people were the first to master travel between stars," Thex Mala explained. "When they found younger species like mine, they did not conquer or control. They shared their knowledge. They helped us grow. They connected our worlds with the DO network so we could learn from each other." Taemin studied the technical displays that came with the images. "These technologies are far beyond what we have now. How could ancient humans have been so advanced?" "Time moves in cycles," Thex Mala said. "Your people understood this. They knew that to keep growing, sometimes you must step back and let others grow first. So they created the Great Sleep Protocol." Jae-hyun felt confused and amazed at the same time. "Are you telling us that humans voluntarily gave up an advanced civilization?" "Not gave up," Thex Mala corrected. "Set aside. Your people built hidden facilities throughout the galaxy. They left instructions and guardians. They said they would return when the younger species had learned enough to be true partners, not just students." The hologram changed to show other alien species. Some looked like giant insects with crystal shells. Others looked like living metal sculptures. Still others were so strange that Dongwu could barely understand what he was looking at. "All of these species are part of your network?" he asked. 237 different civilizations, Thex Mala confirmed. "All connected by the ring stations your people built. All guided by the principles your people taught us. We have maintained peace in this galaxy for over 3 million years because of what the Ancient Ones showed us." So Young noticed something interesting in the images. In all these pictures, humans look exactly like we do now. How is that possible? After millions of years? Thex Mala paused before answering. "Your people were very wise about the flow of time. They knew that evolution and change could be controlled if necessary. They made sure that when they returned, they would still be the same species that had originally built the network." Hyejin brought up another display. "These charts show ring stations hidden throughout our solar system. Were they always there?" "Yes. Thexmala said. Hidden and waiting. Your people left instructions that the network should reveal itself when Earth achieved basic space travel and began exploring beyond their home system. You have reached that point. Jae-hyun realized the implications of what they were learning. So all these civilizations have been watching Earth, waiting for us to develop space travel? Watching is not the correct word, Thexmala said. Protecting would be more accurate. The Ancient Ones left very clear instructions about Earth. No species was allowed to interfere with your world while you completed your natural development. Dongwu felt a chill. Protected from what? Thexmala's expression became more serious. Not all species in the galaxy accepted the Ancient One's teachings about peace. Some prefer conquest to cooperation. They have waited long for the chance to challenge the old agreements. Your return changes everything. Taemin looked up from his technical analysis. Commander, I'm detecting massive energy signatures coming from multiple directions. Ships are heading toward our location. Thexmala nodded. Word of your return spreads quickly across the network. Some come to welcome you. Others come to test you. The galaxy has changed much since your people entered the Great Sleep. Not everyone is happy about your return. Jae-hyun realized they were facing a situation far more complex than simple first contact. What exactly are we returning to? What did ancient humans promise would happen when they came back? Thexmala showed them one final image. It was a great gathering of hundreds of different species, all meeting around a massive ring station. At the center stood humans, but they were not giving orders or commanding others. Instead, they stood as equals among equals, sharing in discussions and decisions. Your people promised that when they returned, they would help us all move into a new age, Thexmala said. An age where all species truly work as partners. But first, you must prove that you are indeed the children of the Ancient Ones. Not everyone in the galaxy believes that modern humans are worthy of that legacy. As alien ships began arriving from across the galaxy, Dongwu realized that humanity was about to face its greatest test. They were no longer just explorers discovering a new frontier. They were the returning children of a legendary civilization, and the entire galaxy was watching to see what they would do next. Minseo had never imagined that her job as a historian would take her to another world. The archive planet of Kepler 442b was nothing like Earth. The entire surface was covered with massive crystalline structures that stored the knowledge of hundreds of civilizations. Each crystal tower reached high into the pale yellow sky, humming with the energy of millions of years of collected information. Welcome to the Great Archive, said Veltar, their Vellani guide. Here we keep the history of every species in the network. The records of your people are kept in the most sacred section. Minseo walked with her research team through corridors filled with floating data displays. Information flowed through the air like rivers of light. She could see historical records from dozens of worlds, but she could not read most of it. The languages were too alien, the concepts too strange. How long have you been collecting this information? Asked her assistant, a young researcher named Kyung-ho. Since the Ancient Ones taught us the importance of preserving knowledge, Veltar replied. Your people believed that understanding history was the key to building a better future. They entered a vast circular chamber where the walls were covered with what looked like moving pictures. Minseo gasped as she realized what she was seeing. The images showed humans, but not the humans she knew from Earth's history. These humans wore strange clothes and used technologies that looked far beyond anything modern Earth had achieved. These records go back how far? She asked. Veltar touched a control panel, and the images changed to show dates. The earliest records of the Ancient Ones are from 4.7 million years ago. The latest records before the Great Sleep are from 3.2 million years ago. Kyung-ho stared at the numbers. That's impossible. Modern humans have only existed for about 200,000 years. Modern humans on Earth, Veltar corrected. But your people traveled to many worlds. They lived different lives on different planets. Some lived longer. Some changed to match their new environments. But they all remained human in the ways that mattered. Minseo moved closer to examine the images. In one, humans were building massive structures that looked like cities floating in space. In another, they were teaching alien children how to grow plants that glowed with their own light. In a third image, humans and aliens worked together to move entire moons from one solar system to another. "Show me the earliest records," she said. The chamber filled with new images. These showed humans arriving in primitive ships at worlds where simple alien species lived in caves or basic shelters. But instead of conquering these worlds, the humans shared their knowledge. They taught the aliens how to make better tools, how to grow better food, how to heal diseases. Your people could have easily conquered every world they found, Veltar explained. Their technology was far superior, but they chose a different path. They chose to help others grow rather than to control them. Kyung-ho found another section of records. "Minseo, look at this. These show Earth itself, but it doesn't look like the Earth we know. The images showed Earth covered with cities that seemed to be made of light itself. Ships the size of mountains moved between Earth and other worlds. The oceans were filled with floating cities, and the sky was crossed with bridges that connected floating platforms." "What happened to all of this?" Minseo asked. "Why is there no trace of this civilization on Earth?" Veltar showed them new records. These images were different. They showed humans in great meetings, discussing something that seemed to worry them greatly. The discussions went on for what looked like years. "Your people realized they had a problem," Veltar said. "They had become so advanced that younger species could not learn from them. The gap was too great. Humans were like adults trying to teach newborn babies. The babies could never grow up if the adults did everything for them." The images showed the solution the humans had chosen. Massive ships left Earth carrying millions of people. The great cities began to disappear, not destroyed but carefully taken apart and stored. The floating platforms sank into the oceans. The bridges in the sky were folded away. They didn't just leave, Minseo realized. They erased all traces of their advanced civilization from Earth. Not erased, Veltar corrected. Hidden. Your people were very careful. They left everything in places where their descendants could find it when they became ready. They also left a small population on Earth to grow naturally, without knowledge of the advanced technology. Kyung-ho found records showing the process in detail. They actually planned for humans on Earth to redevelop civilization from the beginning, to go through the same stages of growth that all species experience. Yes, Veltar said. They believed. This was the only way to ensure that when humans returned to the galaxy, they would truly understand both simple life and advanced life. They would be able to connect with any species at any level of development. Minseo studied the final records from before the Great Sleep. They showed ceremonies where humans formally transferred control of various galactic institutions to alien species. They showed humans teaching aliens how to maintain the ring station network. They showed promises being made and agreements being signed. They made the alien species promise to protect Earth while humans redeveloped naturally, she said. More than protect, Veltar said. They made all species in the network promise to help modern humans when they returned. Every civilization owes a debt to the ancient ones. When their descendants came back, all species would work to help them reclaim their place in the galaxy. The records showed one final ceremony. Thousands of humans gathering around a great ring, station. They were saying goodbye to alien friends and partners they had worked with for millions of years. Many of the aliens were clearly sad to see the humans go. Why didn't they just teach the younger species more slowly? Kyung-ho asked. Why did they have to leave completely? Veltar showed them records of the humans' final discussions. They tried for thousands of years to find another way, but they realized that as long as they were present, younger species would always depend on them. True growth required true independence. Minseo found the most important record of all. It showed the moment when the last group of ancient ones entered their great sleep. But before they did, their leader made a promise to the galaxy. When we return, the ancient human said, we will not come as your teachers or your leaders. We will come as your partners. We will have learned humility from living simple lives. You will have learned wisdom from building your own civilizations. Together, we will create something better than either of us could build alone. Veltar led them to the final section of the archive. These are the prophecies and predictions made by various species about your return. Every civilization in the galaxy has stories about what will happen when the ancient ones come back. The records showed hundreds of different alien cultures, all with their own myths and legends about returning humans. Some saw it as a time of great celebration, others predicted great challenges. All agreed that the return of humans would mark the beginning of a new age for the entire galaxy. The question now, Veltar said, is whether modern humans are truly the heirs of the ancient ones. The galaxy has been waiting millions of years to find out. Minseo realized the enormous responsibility that rested on humanity's shoulders. They were not just exploring a new frontier. They were reclaiming a legacy that affected hundreds of civilizations across the galaxy. The weight of millions of years of history and expectation pressed down on her as she understood what humanity had returned to claim. Seung-ho had spent his career studying military strategy, but nothing had prepared him for what he discovered as he traveled with diplomatic missions across the galaxy. Every species they encountered had not only heard of humans but worshipped them in ways that made him deeply uncomfortable. His first stop was with the crystalline hierarchy, a species that looked like living gemstones. Their bodies were made of different colored crystals that grew and changed based on their emotions. When Seung-ho and the diplomatic team arrived at their homeworld, thousands of crystal beings gathered to see them. The light bringers have returned. They sang in voices that sounded like wind chimes in a storm. The prophecy is fulfilled. Elder Shathan, the leader of the Crystal People, approached Seung-ho with movements that created beautiful musical tones. Your people gave us the gift of controlled light, she explained. Before the Ancient Ones came, we could only reflect light that came from our sun. They taught us how to create our own light, how to share it with others. Our entire civilization is built on what your people taught us. Seung-ho watched as the crystal beings demonstrated their abilities. They created patterns of light that told stories, shared emotions, and even performed complex calculations. It was beautiful, but it made him nervous to be treated as some kind of returning god. We're just people, he told Elder Shathan. We're not the same as the ancient ones. But you are, she insisted. You carry the same spark, the same potential. Our legends say that when the ancient ones returned, they would at first not remember their true nature. But in time, the light within them would awaken. The next world was completely different. The Forge clans were a species that looked like bipedal bears made of living metal. They built massive machines and structures that could reshape entire planets. Their leader, Ironright Kolthak, showed Sung-Ho through their greatest city, Yor. People taught us that true strength comes not from conquest, but from building, Kolthak explained, as they walked past huge factories where metal beings worked on projects that stretched toward the sky. Before the great teachers came, we fought each other constantly, clan against clan, always trying to prove who was strongest. Seung-ho watched the metal beings work together on a massive construction project. They moved with perfect coordination, each one knowing exactly what the others needed without speaking. The Ancient Ones showed us that we could build things together that were greater than anything we could build alone, Kolthak continued. They taught us the blueprints for machines that could heal worlds, create new life, and connect distant civilizations. Everything we are, we owe to the great teachers. But it was the third world that truly shocked Sung-Ho. The Void Hunters were the most feared predators in the galaxy. They looked like shadows given form, with red eyes that glowed in their dark bodies. They were known for conquering worlds and enslaving other species. When the human diplomatic ship arrived at their territory, Sung-Ho expected a fight. Instead, the Void Hunters immediately retreated to the edge of the system and sent a single messenger. "The returners have come," the shadow being said, its voice like whispered fear. "We yield to your ancient claim. We withdraw from all territories, marked as sacred by the Ancient Ones." Sung-Ho was confused. "We're not here to claim territory. We're here for diplomatic contact." The Void Hunter messenger seemed terrified. "You do not remember, but we do. The Ancient Ones were the only beings who could stand against our kind. They did not destroy us, though they could have. Instead, they bound us with oaths and agreements. They made us promise to respect the rights of weaker species." The shadow being showed them images of ancient battles between humans and Void Hunters. But these were not the kind of battles Seung-Ho expected. Instead of humans using superior weapons to defeat the Void Hunters, they used superior strategy and wisdom. "Your people never tried to wipe us out," the messenger explained. "They knew that predators serve a purpose in the galaxy, but they made sure we could only hunt species that were strong enough to defend themselves or fight back. They made us part of the balance instead of destroyers of it." Sung-Ho learned that across the galaxy there were dozens of species with similar stories. The gas swimmers spoke of humans teaching them how to live in the atmospheres of gas giant planets. The tree shepherds told stories of humans showing them how to grow forests that could survive in space. The mind weavers credited humans with teaching them how to share thoughts without losing individual identity. But the most important visit was to the memory keepers, a species that existed partly in normal space and partly in another dimension. They could see across time and space in ways that other species could not understand. "Welcome home, children of the spiral path," their speaker said when Sung-Ho arrived. The memory keepers looked like flowing energy with occasional solid parts that shifted constantly. "Everyone keeps calling us children," Sung-Ho said, "but we're supposed to be the descendants of your teachers." "You are both," the memory keeper replied. "The Ancient Ones understood something that most species do not. Growing up does not mean forgetting how to be young. Your people chose to return to childhood so they could grow up again with wisdom. The Memory Keeper showed Shung-Ho visions of the future and past simultaneously. He saw ancient humans making their decision to enter the Great Sleep. He saw the pain it caused them to leave their friends and partners. But he also saw their hope for what would happen when they returned. The Ancient Ones saw many possible futures, the Memory Keeper explained. In some, they stayed and became stagnant, unchanging. In others, they left and never returned, leaving the galaxy without their wisdom. But in the future they chose, they returned as both ancient and young, wise and curious, teachers and students. Seung-ho saw visions of what could come next, humans and aliens working together on projects that spanned multiple galaxies, new forms of life being created that combined the best aspects of different species, civilizations growing beyond anything that any single species could achieve alone. But these futures are not guaranteed, the Memory Keeper warned. They depend on choices that your people will make in the coming days. Some among the galaxy fear human return. They prefer the current balance of power. They will test you to see if you are worthy of your ancestors' legacy. As Shung-Ho traveled back toward Earth, he carried with him the weight of countless expectations. Every species in the galaxy had built their civilization partly on foundations laid by ancient humans. They looked to modern humanity to help them reach the next level of growth. But he also carried something else, the knowledge that humanity was not returning to rule or control, but to partner and share. The ancient humans had been wise enough to step back when their presence prevented others from growing. Now their descendants had the chance to step forward again, not as gods or masters, but as equals among equals. The question was whether modern humanity was ready for such a responsibility, and whether the galaxy was ready to accept them as partners rather than worship them as legends. Yujin had been exploring dead worlds for most of her career, but Proxima 7 was different from anything she had ever seen. The planet looked lifeless from space, with no atmosphere and a surface covered in what appeared to be natural rock formations. But the energy readings from orbit told a different story. There are massive structures under the surface, she told her team as their ship landed near the largest energy signature. The formations we saw from space aren't natural. They're designed to hide something. Her team included geologist Nam Su, engineer Hai Wan, and linguist Bo Ram. They had been sent to investigate reports of ancient human ruins, but none of them had expected to find anything still active after millions of years. The surface of Proxima 7 was cold and airless, but their sensors detected warmth coming from deep underground. They found an entrance hidden beneath what looked like a natural cave formation. As soon as Yujin approached it, the cave mouth began to glow with soft light. "It's responding to us," Haiwan said, checking her instruments. "The energy levels are increasing. Something down there knows we're here." They descended into corridors carved from the planet's bedrock. But these weren't rough caves. The walls were smooth and covered with the same flowing patterns they had seen on the ring stations. Lights activated as they walked, creating a path deeper into the planet. "These symbols," Boram said, studying the patterns on the walls. "They're definitely related to ancient Korean writing, but much more complex. It's like Korean evolved for thousands of years in a direction we never took." The corridors led them to a vast underground chamber that stretched beyond the reach of their lights. As they entered, the entire space lit up, revealing a sight that took Yujin's breath away. The chamber was filled with thousands of crystalline pods, each one large enough to hold a human being. "Stasis chambers," Heywan whispered. But they're empty now. Yujin moved between the pods, examining their construction. The technology was far beyond anything modern Earth could build, but it was clearly designed by humans. The controls had symbols that Boram could partially read, and the pod sizes were perfect for human bodies. There are over 10,000 pods in this chamber. Alone, Namsu reported, and my readings show more chambers like this one throughout the complex. At the center of the chamber, they found something even more impressive. A massive quantum computer that filled an area the size of a city block. Its crystalline components pulsed with energy, and display screens showed information flowing in, patterns too fast for human eyes to follow. It's still running, Heywan said in amazement. After millions of years, this computer is still active. As they approached the central console, a hologram materialized above it. The figure that appeared looked human, but her clothes and bearing suggested someone from a far more advanced civilization. She was tall and elegant, with kind eyes and an expression of patient waiting. "Welcome, descendants," the hologram said, in perfect Korean. "I am Guardian Protocol Yunbi. I have been waiting for your return." Yujin stepped forward. "You're an artificial intelligence? You've been running this place for millions of years?" Yunbi nodded. "I was created by the Ancient Ones to monitor the galaxy during their great sleep. My primary function was to ensure that when their descendants were ready, they could access the knowledge and technology left behind." Boram studied the hologram with fascination. "You look completely human. How is that possible for an AI that old?" "I was based on the personality and memories of a human scientist named Yunbi, who volunteered to become the template for this Guardian system," the AI explained. "I am both artificial and human, in a sense. I carry her knowledge, her values, and her dedication to helping others grow and learn." Heywan examined the computer systems around them. "What is all this equipment for? What were the Ancient Ones doing down here?" Yunbi gestured, and new holograms appeared showing the complex in full operation. Yujin saw humans working throughout the underground facility, monitoring systems, conducting research, and preparing for something momentous. "This is one of 47 such facilities hidden throughout the galaxy," Yunbi explained. "Each one was designed to serve as a seed point for humanity's return. The Ancient Ones knew that when their descendants rediscovered space travel, they would need help transitioning from a simple civilization to a galactic one." The holograms showed the process in detail. Ancient humans had spent centuries preparing for their departure. They had built hidden bases on dead worlds, placed guardian systems throughout the galaxy, and created detailed plans for every aspect of their eventual return. They thought of everything, Yujin realized. This isn't just a storage facility. It's a complete infrastructure for rebuilding galactic civilization. Yunbi confirmed her understanding. The Ancient Ones learned from the mistakes of other species who had tried to manage galactic civilizations. They knew that simply leaving knowledge behind would not be enough. Their descendants would need active support and guidance to avoid the pitfalls that had destroyed other advanced societies. Namsu found another section of the complex that contained manufacturing equipment. These machines can build anything from basic tools to starships. But they're designed to work with operators who understand both ancient and modern technology. "That is correct," Yunbi said. "The Ancient Ones predicted that their descendants would return with different knowledge and capabilities than they had possessed. These systems are designed to bridge that gap, allowing modern humans to learn and grow into their full potential." Boram discovered something else interesting. There are cultural archives here too. Music, literature, art, philosophy. The ancient ones didn't just preserve their technology, they preserved their entire way of thinking about the universe. Yunbi showed them deeper into the complex, to chambers filled with what looked like seeds or eggs made of crystal. These contain the genetic patterns for thousands of species that existed during the time of the ancient ones. Some are extinct now, others have evolved into different forms. Your people wanted to ensure that the diversity of galactic life could be restored if necessary. Eugene began to understand the true scope of what they had found. This isn't just a facility, it's a complete backup system for galactic civilization. More than that, Yunbi said. It is a growth system. The ancient ones did not want to simply restore what had existed before. They wanted their descendants to take what was good from the past and combine it with what they had learned during their time of simple living to create something better. Heiwan asked the question that had been bothering all of them. Why reveal this to us now? Why not wait until humanity is more advanced? Yunbi's expression became more serious. Because the galaxy faces challenges that the ancient ones did not anticipate. Some species have grown beyond the agreements made during the Great Sleep. Others have forgotten the lessons of cooperation and partnership. There are threats emerging that require the full return of human capabilities. The AI showed them images of distant parts of the galaxy where conflicts were brewing, species that had abandoned the network, civilizations that had turned toward conquest rather than cooperation, technologies being developed that could threaten the stability of entire star systems. The time of gentle awakening has passed, Yunbi said. Your people must quickly reclaim their full potential if the galaxy is to avoid a dark age that could last millions of years. Yujin felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. What do we need to do? Yunbi smiled, and for a moment she looked exactly like a proud teacher watching her students finally understand an important lesson. You need to wake up the rest of the network. 46 other facilities like this one are waiting for activation. When all are online, humanity will have the tools they need to help guide the galaxy through the challenges ahead. As Yujin and her team prepared to leave Proxima 7, they carried with them the location codes for every hidden human facility in the galaxy. They also carried Guardian Yunbi herself, downloaded into portable systems that would allow her to help coordinate. The awakening of humanity's true legacy. The age of simple exploration was over. The time of reclamation had begun. Hyunwoo had always been good with machines, but the ancient human technology was unlike anything he had ever worked with. The devices seemed to understand what he wanted before he asked for it. The computers responded to his thoughts as much as his commands. It was as if the ancient ones had built technology that was almost alive. Guardian Yunbi had given him the access codes for 12 different hidden facilities, and each one revealed new wonders and new responsibilities. The second facility they visited was built inside an asteroid in the Vega system. Unlike the stasis chambers of Proxima 7, this facility was filled with massive machines designed to reshape entire solar systems. These are stellar engineers, Yunbi explained as Hyunwoo examined the control systems. Your ancestors used them to move planets, adjust the orbits of moons, and even relocate entire star systems when necessary. Hyunwoo stared at the displays, showing the current state of nearby star systems. They could move planets? How is that possible? Gravity manipulation technology combined with dimensional folding, Yunbi said. The ancient ones learned to treat space and time as materials that could be shaped and molded. But they used this power carefully, only when it would benefit multiple species. The machines were dormant, But as Hyunwoo learned to interface with them, they began to awaken. Warning signals immediately appeared on his displays. Several star systems were showing signs of instability that would make them uninhabitable within a few thousand years. The network has been trying to maintain these systems automatically, Yunbi explained, but some problems require direct human oversight. The Ancient Ones built these machines to respond only to human operators because they knew the temptation to misuse such power would be too great for most species. Hyunwoo activated the stellar engineers for the first time in millions of years. The effect was immediate and visible across multiple solar systems. Planets that had been drifting out of their habitable zones were gently nudged back into stable orbits. Asteroid fields that threatened shipping lanes were redistributed into useful mining operations. Dying stars received injections of material that would extend their lives for billions of years. News of these changes spread across the galaxy within hours. Species throughout the network reported that problems they had been struggling with for centuries were suddenly solved. Agricultural worlds became more stable. Trade routes became safer. Entire civilizations that had been planning to evacuate their dying systems found new hope. But not everyone was happy about the changes. The Iron Assembly is demanding an immediate halt to all stellar engineering operations, reported Admiral Song Min from the human diplomatic flagship. They claim that humans have no right to alter star systems without consulting the affected species first. Hyunwoo studied the records that Yunbi provided about the Iron Assembly. They were a militant alliance of species that had formed after the Ancient Ones entered the Great Sleep. Unlike most of the galaxy, they had rejected the cooperative principles that the network was built on. The Assembly believes in strength. Through conquest, Yunbi explained, they have been waiting for an opportunity to challenge the old agreements. Your return gives them that opportunity. The third facility Hyunwoo visited was even more impressive. Built inside a hollow moon in the Centauri system, it contained technology for creating and managing life itself. The Ancient Ones had used these biostations to help species adapt to new environments and to create new forms of life that could thrive in previously uninhabitable locations. This is where your people developed the techniques for accelerated evolution, Yunbi said as they walked through laboratories filled with genetic engineering equipment, not to change species against their will, but to help them become better versions of themselves. Hyunwoo activated the biostation's main systems and immediately received hundreds of requests from across the galaxy. Species that had been struggling with genetic diseases asked for help developing cures. Civilizations living on harsh worlds requested assistance adapting to their environments. Even more ambitious projects were proposed, such as creating new species specifically designed to restore life to dead worlds. But the most significant activation came when Hyunwoo reached the seventh facility. This one was built into the structure of space itself, existing partly in normal reality and partly in dimensions that human science was only beginning to understand. This is a dimensional anchor point, Yunbi explained. The Ancient Ones built a network of these stations to stabilize the fabric of space throughout the galaxy. Without them, faster-than-light travel would be impossible, and the ring station network could not function. As the dimensional anchor came online, Hyunwoo felt a change in the very nature of reality around him. Space became more stable. The connection between distant parts of the galaxy grew stronger. Travel times between star systems decreased as the network efficiency improved. But the activation also revealed something troubling. Several anchor points had been deliberately damaged or destroyed. The network that held galactic civilization together was under attack. "Who would do this?" Hyun-woo asked. Yun-Bi's expression was grim. "Species that want to isolate themselves from the galaxy, or that want to prevent other species from traveling freely. The Assembly has been working to fragment the network for thousands of years." By the time Hyun-woo had activated his 12th facility, the political situation in the galaxy had changed dramatically. The restoration of ancient human infrastructure had given many species new hope and new capabilities, but it had also created new tensions and conflicts. The Vellani Consortium was thrilled by the return of technologies they had thought lost forever. The Crystal Hierarchy saw the reactivation as fulfillment of their most sacred prophecies. Even, the Void Hunters seemed impressed by the demonstration of ancient human capabilities, but the Iron Assembly and its allies were organizing resistance. They claimed that humans were trying to reclaim an empire that no longer rightfully belonged to them. They argued that the galaxy had grown beyond the need for ancient guidance. "They fear losing their independence," Yun-Bi explained. "Some species have spent millions of years building civilizations based on principles different from what the ancient ones taught. They see your return as a threat to their way of life." Hyun-woo found himself at the center of a galaxy-wide debate about the role of technology in civilization. The ancient human systems could solve many problems and improve life for billions of beings, but they also represented a level of power that could be misused if it fell into the wrong hands. The ancient ones faced the same dilemma, Yun-Bi reminded him. They chose to step back rather than risk becoming tyrants. The question now is whether their descendants can find a better path forward. As more facilities came online, Hyun-woo began to see the full scope of what the Ancient Ones had built. It was not just a collection of advanced technologies. It was a complete system for supporting galactic civilization, designed to help all species grow and thrive together. But he also saw the dangers. The technologies were so advanced that they could easily be used to control other species rather than help them. The power to move planets could be used to threaten worlds as well as save them. The ability to modify life could be used to create weapons as well as cures. The challenge facing modern humanity was not just learning to use ancient technology, it was learning to use it wisely in ways that honored the principles of cooperation and partnership that the Ancient Ones had valued. As Hyun-woo prepared to activate the remaining facilities, he knew that each new system would bring both opportunities and dangers. The galaxy was watching to see whether modern humans were worthy of their ancestors' legacy, or whether they would repeat the mistakes that had led other advanced civilizations to destroy themselves. The awakening of the ancient systems was changing everything. The question now was whether the galaxy could handle the changes without tearing itself apart in the process. Soo-jin had never wanted to be a political leader, but the galaxy had chosen her for the role whether she wanted it or not. As the human representative to the Galactic Council, she found herself at the center of the most complex political situation in millions of years. The revelation that humanity legally owned most of the galaxy's critical infrastructure had created chaos throughout the network. Ancient treaties and genetic locks meant that the ring stations, stellar engineers, biolaboratories, and dimensional anchors would only respond to human commands. After millions of years of independence, alien species suddenly found themselves dependent on a species they had thought of as newcomers. "The situation is impossible," said Thexmala during an emergency session of the Vellani Consortium. "We honor the Ancient Ones and welcome their return. but we cannot simply surrender our independence to their descendants. Su-Jin studied the legal documents that Guardian Yunbi had provided. The Ancient Ones had been very thorough in their planning. Every major piece of galactic infrastructure had been built with genetic locks that required human DNA to activate. Every treaty had clauses that returned control to humans when they returned from the Great Sleep. "We never asked for this responsibility," Su-Jin told the assembled alien leaders. "Modern humans didn't even know this infrastructure existed until a few months ago." But the Iron Assembly saw the situation differently. Their leader, War Commander Kethmore, was a massive being that looked like a combination of insect and machine. His species, the Hegemony Collective, had built a civilization based on conquest and control. "The Ancient Ones are gone," Kethmore declared. "These new humans are not the same species that once ruled the galaxy. They have no right to claim an inheritance they did not earn." The debate raged for weeks across thousands of worlds. Some species, like the Crystal Hierarchy and the Memory Keepers, insisted that modern humans were the rightful heirs of ancient technology. Others, like the Iron Assembly and the Separatist Alliance, argued that millions of years of independent development had broken any ancient claims. But the most serious challenge came from an unexpected source. The Guardian AIs themselves were divided on whether modern humans were truly the successors of the Ancient Ones. "The genetic markers are correct," admitted Guardian Protocol Dalho during a private meeting with Su-Jin. "But genetics alone do not make someone worthy of this inheritance. The Ancient Ones were wise, patient, and dedicated to helping others grow. Are their descendants the same?" Su-Jin found herself being tested constantly. Every decision she made was examined by hundreds of alien species and dozens of Guardian AIs. When she authorized the use of stellar engineers to save a dying system, some praised her compassion, while others accused her of showing favoritism. When she refused to use biotechnology to enhance human capabilities, some called her wise, while others called her weak. The real crisis came when the Iron Assembly made their move. Using weapons they had developed in secret, they attacked 3 ring stations simultaneously, trying to destroy the network connections between major civilizations. "If we cannot control the network," War Commander Kethmore announced, "then no one will control it. The galaxy will be free of ancient tyranny." The attacks failed because the ring stations had defenses that the Assembly had not expected. But the attempt to destroy galactic infrastructure shocked even species that had been sympathetic to the Assembly's concerns. "They would have cut off dozens of worlds from the galaxy," said Elder Shathan of the Crystal Hierarchy. "Billions of beings would have been stranded without trade, communication, or travel. The Assembly cares nothing for the consequences of their actions." Su-Jin realized that the political situation was becoming dangerous. The galaxy was splitting into factions, with some species supporting human leadership, others opposing it, and still others trying to remain neutral. If the divisions continued to grow, the result could be a galactic war that would destroy the civilization that the Ancient Ones had worked so hard to build. She made a decision that surprised everyone, including herself. She called for a gathering of all species at the ancient ceremonial station near the galactic core, the same place where the Ancient Ones had made their farewell before entering the Great Sleep. "I have something to propose," she announced to the assembled representatives of 300 different civilizations. "But first, I want you to understand what we've learned about why the Ancient Ones chose to leave. Using records provided by the Guardian AIs, Su-Jin showed the gathered species what life in the galaxy had been like during the height of ancient human civilization. It was impressive beyond imagination. technologies that could reshape reality itself, cities that spanned entire star systems, projects that involved moving galaxies to create better arrangements of stars and worlds. But the records also showed the problems that such advancement had created. Younger species had become completely dependent on human guidance. They had stopped growing and learning because humans could solve any problem better and faster. The galaxy had become stagnant, despite all its power and knowledge. The Ancient Ones realized that their very success was preventing others from succeeding, Sujin explained. They chose to step back not because they were weak, but because they were strong enough to sacrifice their own power for the benefit of others. She then showed records of what the galaxy had accomplished during the millions of years since the Great Sleep began. Hundreds of species had developed their own unique technologies and cultures. Art, music, philosophy, and science had flourished in ways that would have been impossible under human dominance. "You have built something amazing," Sujin told the assembly. "You have created a galactic civilization based on cooperation rather than control. You have proven that the Ancient Ones made the right choice when they trusted you to grow on your own." War Commander Kethmore interrupted. "Fine words, but you still claim ownership of our infrastructure. You still demand that we accept human leadership." Sujin smiled. "No, we don't." The statement caused confusion throughout the assembly. Representatives whispered to each other in dozens of different languages. Even Guardian Yunbi looked surprised. "Modern humans formally renounce all claims to galactic dominance," Sujin announced. "We will share the technologies left by the Ancient Ones, but we will not use them to control others. We propose a new form of government for the galaxy, one based on true partnership between all species." The proposal she outlined was radical. Instead of human leadership or the current system of loose alliances, she suggested a federation where every species had equal representation. The ancient technologies would be managed by joint committees with representatives from multiple civilizations. No single species, including humans, would have the power to make decisions that affected the entire galaxy. The Ancient Ones were wise to step back when their power prevented others from growing, Sujin said. But they were also wise to return when their help was needed. "We propose to be partners, not rulers, advisors, not dictators. We will share what we know, but we will also learn from what you have discovered." The debate that followed lasted for days. Some species were skeptical that humans would truly give up the power that was legally theirs. Others worried that without clear leadership, the galaxy would fall into chaos. Still others feared that the Iron Assembly would never accept any arrangement that included human participation. But gradually, support for Sujin's proposal grew. The Memory Keepers confirmed that it matched the intentions of the Ancient Ones. The Guardian AIs agreed that it honored the principles they had been programmed to protect. Even some members of the Iron Assembly admitted that it was better than the alternatives they had been considering. War Commander Kethmore remained opposed until the end. "You ask us to trust a species that once ruled the galaxy. History shows that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely." Sujin met his objection directly. "You're right to be cautious. That's why we're building checks and balances into the system. No species will have absolute power, not even us. And if humans ever try to reclaim dominance, every other species in the galaxy will have the tools and the authority to stop us." The final vote was close, but the proposal passed. The galaxy would be reorganized as a true federation, with humans as equal partners rather than dominant leaders. The ancient technologies would be shared freely, but their use would require consensus among multiple species. As Su-Jin watched the representatives sign the new galactic charter, she felt a sense of completion. The Ancient Ones had stepped back to allow others to grow. Now their descendants had stepped forward to share in what others had built. The circle was complete, but the journey was just beginning. President Jin Woo stood on the observation deck of the massive starship Soul's Pride, looking out at a sight that no human leader had ever seen before. Representatives from over 400 different species had gathered in space around the ancient ceremonial station. Ships of every imaginable design floated in perfect formation, their various technologies creating a light show that painted the darkness with colors that had no names in any human language. 3 months had passed since the Galactic Assembly had voted to create the new Federation. 3 months of negotiations, compromises, and careful planning. Today, Jin Woo would formally sign the new covenant on behalf of all humanity, marking the beginning of a new age for the galaxy. Guardian, Yunbi materialized beside him as a hologram. Over the months since her awakening, she had become not just an advisor, but a bridge between ancient wisdom and modern reality. "Your ancestors would be proud," she said, watching the assembled fleet. They always hoped that their return would lead to partnership rather than dominance. Jin Woo nodded, but he felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. The new Federation was an experiment that had never been tried on such a scale. Hundreds of different species, each with their own cultures, technologies, and ways of thinking, would need to work together as equals. "Are we ready for this?" he asked. Yunbi smiled. "No one is ever ready for change this significant, but readiness is not the same as capability. The galaxy has spent millions of years learning how to cooperate. Humans have spent their entire recent history learning how to grow from simple beginnings. Together, you have the tools you need." The ceremony began with representatives from the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. The Memory Keepers spoke first, their words echoing across time and space through technologies that allowed all species to understand each other perfectly. "We witnessed the completion of a cycle that began when the Ancient Ones first chose wisdom over power," their speaker said. "Today, their children choose partnership over dominance. The spiral of growth continues." Elder Shathan of the Crystal. Hierarchy created a display of light that told the story of human return in patterns of color and music. The Lightbringers have brought illumination not through conquest, but through the choice to share their gifts freely. Even War Commander Kethmore of the Iron Assembly participated, though his words were careful and measured. The Hegemony Collective acknowledges that strength can be found in unity as well as in independence. "We will watch and judge by actions rather than words." When Jin Woo's turn came to speak, he found himself looking out at an audience more diverse than anything ancient humans had ever imagined. Species made of living crystal, beings of pure energy, creatures that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, and hundreds of others that defied easy description. "We stand here today not as the children of gods returning to reclaim an empire," he began. "We stand as one species among many, offering what we have learned and hoping to learn from what others have discovered." He gestured toward the ancient station where the ceremony was taking place. "This station was built by our ancestors as a place of meeting and decision-making. But they never imagined a gathering like this one. They never envisioned a federation where hundreds of species would work as true equals." The audience listened in perfect silence, though Jin Woo knew that many species were simultaneously translating his words into forms of communication that human minds could not even comprehend. The Ancient Ones made a great sacrifice when they chose to step back and let others grow, he continued. Today, we make a different kind of sacrifice. We give up the legal right to rule that our ancestors left us. We choose to share power rather than wield it alone. But Jinwoo also spoke about what humans hope to gain from the new arrangement. We have lived simple lives for millions of years while you built great civilizations. We have much to learn from your achievements. We hope that by combining our ancient knowledge with your modern wisdom, we can create something better than either could build alone. The formal signing of the new covenant took place in a ceremony that blended traditions from hundreds of different cultures. Each species contributed something to the ritual, creating a celebration that was unlike anything that had ever happened before. When Jinwoo signed the document that established humanity as equal partners in the Galactic Federation, he used a pen made from materials contributed by dozens of different worlds. The ink was a substance that would last for millions of years, ensuring that future generations would remember this moment. But the real work began after the ceremony ended. The new Federation faced challenges that no government had ever dealt with before. How do you make decisions when your citizens include species that think at the speed of light and others that consider 1,000 years to be a brief moment? How do you create laws that apply equally to beings made of flesh, crystal, energy, and stranger substances? The solutions came through collaboration. The memory keepers provided systems for communication across timescales. The crystal hierarchy developed technologies for storing and sharing complex information. The ancient human systems provided the infrastructure for connecting different types of consciousness. Dongwu, now promoted to Admiral of Exploration, led joint expeditions that included members from dozens of species. It's amazing how much we can accomplish when we combine different ways of thinking, he reported from an expedition to map previously unknown regions of the galaxy. Mincio established the first truly galactic university, where beings from hundreds of worlds could study together. Students are learning not just facts, but entirely new ways of understanding reality, she explained. A human student might learn to perceive time the way a memory keeper does, while a crystal hierarchy student learns to experience individual consciousness the way humans do. The most significant changes came in technology and science. When human engineering combined with alien innovations, the results exceeded anything that either could have achieved alone. New forms of space travel that were faster and safer than anything previously imagined. Medical technologies that could help any species live longer and healthier lives. Art forms that combined the best aspects of hundreds of different cultural traditions. But perhaps the most important development was the emergence of hybrid projects that no single species could have conceived. Teams of humans and aliens worked together to create new forms of life specifically designed to restore dead worlds to productivity. Others developed technologies for communication with species so alien that they had previously been thought to be non-intelligent. The Void Hunters, once the most feared predators in the galaxy, became partners in projects to explore dangerous regions of space that no other species could survive. Their natural abilities, combined with human strategic thinking and alien technologies, created exploration capabilities that opened entirely new frontiers. Even the Iron Assembly gradually became more cooperative as they saw the benefits of the new system. War Commander Kethmore eventually admitted, "This Federation provides opportunities for growth and achievement that our old ways of conquest never offered." As Jinwoo looked back on the first year of the new Federation, he realized that humanity had found its place in the galaxy not by reclaiming ancient power, but by helping to build something entirely new. The Ancient Ones had been wise to step back and let others grow. Their descendants had been wise to step forward and share in what others had built. The galaxy was entering a golden age of cooperation and discovery. Hundreds of species were working together on projects that spanned multiple star systems. Technologies were advancing at rates that amazed even the oldest civilizations. Art, music, literature, and philosophy were flourishing as different cultures shared their insights and inspirations. But most importantly, every species in the Federation was growing in ways they never could have achieved alone. Humans were learning to think in ways that transcended individual consciousness. Aliens were discovering the value of personal identity and individual achievement. Together, they were becoming something greater than the sum of their parts. Guardian Yunbi, now serving as an advisor to the Federation Council, put it best. The Ancient Ones dreamed of a galaxy where all species could reach their full potential. Their descendants have made that dream a reality. The humans had returned to a galaxy that revered them, but they had chosen to transform that reverence into partnership. They were no longer the mysterious Ancient Ones of legend, but living partners in the greatest collaboration the galaxy had ever known. The age of human dominance was over. The age of galactic unity had begun.